Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Monika.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 6 of season 4 of Discovery, Stormy Weather. Or, as Andrea likes to call stuff, smart people making stupid decisions. Because this episode is all about why would you do this? Like, that's literally all I thought watching this episode. So basically, it is about the Discovery team. They want answers regarding the anomaly. So they decide to go into the subspace rift created by the dark matter, and they are trying to figure out what is going on. I repeat, they decide to go into the subspace rift created by the dark matter anomaly that's destroying everything to try and figure out what's going on, because that is super smart to do with living beings. So let's talk about our initial reactions, Monika. What did you think?
But wait, there's more. There's also an AI that's having a nervous breakdown. So for me, it's not just about smart people making stupid decisions, but there's an emotional roller coaster ride with something that's traditionally fairly stable, and that's artificial intelligence and robotics and computers. And so that has me a little on edge, little like puzzled how this is gonna roll out, because we still have lots of episodes to go, and a mystery to solve. But I also learned that Michael is able to make the ultimate sacrifice and sacrifice herself as captain. I guess she's proving her captainhood yet again by being by taking on the kind of like the role of I'll stay behind as the captain.
A captain goes down with their ship.
That's what she says. However, I don't think they really had to do that. So I have this other theory of how this could have ended, and we'll talk about it more later. But so stay tuned, everyone, because it didn't have to end this way. It didn't have to work out this way.
Oh, go ahead.
And with that, we learned once again, and we've learned this time and time again, that there's a lot of teamwork and there's family dynamics. So that just unrolled again. I just miss Tilly in this, and I have concerns about how this story is gonna unfold. Normally, I'm not the one that's concerned about the story.
That's me.
You, but yes. But I'm looking forward to talking about it because I have some fears now.
So for my initial reaction, the only thing I could think of watching this episode is this is a filler episode. And I don't like filler episodes. I don't like episodes that if you condense it down to 10 minutes and put it into another episode, you get the same reaction. And I honestly believe if they have condensed this into a 10-minute block of another episode, or the end of 5 minutes, like the ending 5 minutes of one episode and the beginning 5 minutes of another episode, we would have had the same reaction. They would have learned the same thing. They would have learned it's stupid to go into the subspace rift. Like there wasn't anything, in my opinion, and I'm not a genius, that was really learned that took the entire time, because they were there, they realized they effed up, they realized they couldn't escape, and they spent the rest of the episode trying to escape. And I really felt like this could have been, all right, end of one episode, we're going into the rift, and they go in, they send out the little thing, find out, okay, crap, and then like we can't get out. That should have been the end of one episode. And then them figuring out how to get out should have been the beginning of the next one. Or them like not being able to get out, figuring out. This episode could have been 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 if we're pushing it. And I don't like filler episodes because I felt like if I only watched half of it, I still would have gotten the same information. And I don't like that.
Yes, it was less about the mission and more about the characters, I felt.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of that has already been established.
Yeah.
For seasons.
Like you keep establishing these character arcs, but like this is their 4th season.
Right.
We know who they are. We know them. This is now about the story, especially since they want this to be such a story-driven show and not an episode-driven show. You need to push the story and stop giving us episodes that don't need to be a full 40 minutes. My opinion, my initial reaction. I am sorry, people, if you don't like it.
Okay, this is where we agree.
Yay! Air high five from like across the wherever we are. So let's go ahead and jump in and discuss what this episode is all about. So in the opening scene, we see that Michael is creating her family tree, and both Michael and Book sort of reflect on their families. And I definitely was like, honey, I thought your family, like, no offense, isn't this supposed to be biologically related? I get the whole Spock part and the whole like that family, the Vulcan family, but I was like, just say this is your family and friends tree, because you're not technically related to any of these other people. Like, it's not even adoption. It's more of like your work friends. Yeah, they could be your family, but like this is supposed to be like your actual family history. And so like you have your parents, and then you have your other parents, and then you have your brother, and then you have all of their like branches off. But like, okay, we're throwing up Tilly. I love Tilly, but we're throwing up Tilly. Like, really? Like, she's just your best friend, honey.
Yeah, to me, what this showed is that Michael's family background is complicated, because it could have been like just a separate tree with connecting branches. It's just her background's so complicated. Yes.
So what did you think of her and Book's conversation?
Well, I learned something about Book and Book's father's birthday. And so this leads me into going down a rabbit hole that perhaps I should not. But we learn a lot more about Book's father in this episode. And I don't want to give away some spoilers of concerns that I have for later regarding his family. But he has some family issues too. And later on, he sees his father.
And yeah, that whole scene, that scene was like, what the F? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? But whatever. And we see that we have Gary and Zora playing a Gray.
Yes.
I said Gary. I am so sorry, people.
Yeah.
I only had one cup of coffee so far. We have Gray and Zora playing a board game. Now they're playing chess. And Zora is getting on my nerves because AI should not have feelings. I don't care. I do not care that it can run your life. I do not care. If I say, put my phone away so it doesn't hear me. If I say, hey Siri, I don't want them to be like, oh, you're my best friend. No, because if I make it mad, my entire life is done because like she controls my phone. AI should not have feelings. And there she is talking on the side. And Zora having anxiety and being stressed and overwhelmed throughout this episode is giving me flashbacks to season 3, because the last time an AI had control and was like, look, all y'all need to die, it didn't really end well for the human race. So like, I don't need an AI to have feelings, but well, I'm mad at you. I don't want to do my job. I don't want to protect you. You can go ahead and die, because they're not human. They don't understand all the ramifications. And every time they try to be human, they're not all like Robin Williams in that one movie, like iRobot, or not iRobot, but that movie where he was a robot, became a human. It's not like that. Sometimes it's like the movie iRobot, where it's like, they're going to kill us. And so we need to not give AI feelings.
So you're referring back to when there was AI with Section 31 that was like controlling the Section 31. Yeah, that was sketchy and creepy and scary. Yeah.
And like they were trying to get the sphere data to like destroy all universe. And now the sphere data is merging with AI and is trying, like, no, stop that. Cut that off. Cut it off. Time out. No, because this does not seem right. Like, stop it, people. Stop believing in AI.
Right. And one of my concerns, there's many concerns I have with this episode, but that the one individual on the ship that has like no real reason to be on the ship, besides even Book doesn't really, but even further out, Gray's the one that realizes I need to help the AI. like even Michael and Saru in this elevator realized that like Michael had to ask please to the AI. Like, and Saru noticed that there was feelings and also, and they were running diagnostics, but they decided not to do anything. Gray's the only one that decided like, I need to like talk to the AI and figure out what's going on here. So she was like, she's a young person too on the ship, and she was, to me, acting more mature.
I just need the AI to go back to being an AI and
Yeah.
be like, oh, what's the weather like? The weather is this. Oh, I think it's a little chilly for you, honey. I would feel better if you wore a coat. No, I don't want that from an AI. I don't want that from something that can control everything in my life and kill me if it sucks all the oxygen out. Because like, you know what? I'm putting you in timeout. Sucks all the oxygen out. No, we don't need that. We don't need that.
Also, one thing computers typically do well, multitask.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that the AI, Zora, was having difficulty multitasking to figure out what was going on in the hull, and her sensories are off because she was like stressed. It's like, this is just bizarre to me. Like all of it, there should, I don't understand why all the triggers, all of the notifications weren't running. She and
Your
that
lips to the
she
right.
didn't feel comfortable communicating this out to Michael.
Your lips to the writer's ears, because I'm just sitting here like, look, they're gonna die. This AI is gonna get them killed. But speaking of AI that sadly dies, one of the dots dies, and the disturbing thing about the way that dot dies is that they're not supposed to feel any pain. They're a robot, and they said it seemed like it was screaming as it died, and that's creepy. Because like they don't even know what to register as pain. And it did sound like the dot was screaming as it was dissolved by the subspace matter and the DM. I cannot believe I'm calling it the DMA. Oh my gosh. It is very interesting.
Right. It seems like there is a wall out there for the edge of this dark matter anomaly, and whatever crosses it, whether it's a flash or the dot, then that gets either eaten, dissolved, crushed, and then like annihilated, just gone. The connection I could make regarding the dot is that in the last season, at the end, the spirit data projected itself into the dot, and like they were trying to get trap Asira, and so the spirit data picked up when the rest of the crew was unconscious and helped to move the rest of the mission along and helped to save the day. So and then the spirit data also helped revive a few of the crew members afterwards. So it seems like the spirit data is projecting itself into the dots. But I don't understand. I still do not understand all of these feelings.
And we agree on that. Oh my gosh, this episode is bringing us together for like the first time ever. Our hatred of this episode. So then we also see that when they realize that they're not able to navigate out after the dot was destroyed and they're not really able to get any data or sensor readings, they decide, okay, we're going to jump. And Paul's like, I can't jump because I need to figure out what's happening while we're jumping. And so Book's like, all right, I'll do it. And so finally, Book has a purpose on this ship. Like, okay, he's like the backup to Paul. Like, okay, Paul can't jump, Book can jump. And that should be his role. Now, I guess that's his unofficial role in my mind as the backup Paul, because you have the captain and then you have the number one. So like, yeah, you need someone else besides Paul if he gets incapacitated who can also jump if you need to. And so we see that Book gets in there and he is ready to jump, but he's not able to, and he gets electrocuted. And you see his whole head like light up, and you're just like, oh my god, I thought his brain was going to explode for one moment. I was like, oh my god, like really scared. And we realize that they can't jump out because they can't connect to the mycelial network while they're in the subspace matter, which makes me wonder, did they not send drones and realize the drones never came back? So maybe sending live people is not the smartest thing to do. Like there was, oh, we sent the drone. We couldn't get the drone. Like, why are you sending living people into something that's destroying people and not even sure if you can escape the way you went in? Because none of it's known. Like, it's smart people making stupid decisions. What are we doing? Your thoughts?
Right. So they also realize that let me back up. So the nice thing is Paul is sharing responsibility and delegating out. So his character's come a long way. He used to be very selfish and think, oh, he's the only one I could do these certain things. So that was a strength there and a character development. What I wanted to circle back to is something that you mentioned last episode. And if Book is the only person left that's part of his species, is the only survivor, then you're really risking it every time he jumps. And so that was what I was thinking when like he went unconscious. Was like, oh goodness, he's the lone person left.
Right on the nose.
So that's scary. I hope they, like you stated, saved his DNA. I hope they saved his sperm so that his species can continue and thrive.
And see, people, I did not mean it in a wrong, like a gross manner. I meant it as like, to further that, do you want that species to be extinct? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
But then when he was unconscious and he connected into the mycelial network and he saw his dad, I first thought, oh, it's nice to see Book's connection to his parents, and his father's handsome, and so it's nice on the eyes. However, I didn't like how Book's dad was talking about Michael, and like, you're gonna follow her and you should follow your own way. I thought that was a little suspect to me. It felt a little chauvinist.
A little bit of sexist suspect
going
on in there.
Yes. And I wasn't quite sure if he was referencing that because she's human and not part of their society, or because he's being kind of bossed around by a female, has to take orders from a female, and he's kind of subservient in this role on this ship that he chose to take on this role. So I have some concerns about his father. And yeah. What about you?
I didn't like his dad. His dad played very much of the stereotypical father that's like, I made all these hard choices for your life and you just walked away from them. It's like, well, they were wrong. We didn't have a choice. Very much a proud father who's like, you should respect me no matter what. I'm like, respect is earned. It's not given, no matter who you are in my life. I don't just respect you. If you're doing something wrong, you're doing something wrong, and I will not respect it. And I like that Book thinks that way, and was like, this isn't right. I'm not okay with this. And instead of his father understanding in the beginning that his son is allowed to think for himself, it plays into the role of a parent who, it's like, my kid disagrees with me, and instead of me taking a reflecting why they might disagree, they're just being disobedient. Instead of me like looking within myself, I'm like, all right, well, why do they disagree? Do they have a valid reason? Is what I'm doing actually wrong? And it's accepting I'm doing something that's wrong for the betterment of my family, so I expect them to be grateful. But he doesn't have to be grateful to that. He doesn't have to be grateful that you're doing something illegal to keep them fed. He doesn't have to like that. And he didn't like it, so he left.
Right. And he created a new identity for himself. He changed his name, really focusing on his passion and ecology and animal rescue of endangered species. So I think he should be proud of his son for going out and finding his own way through this. Goodness gracious. But sometimes parents just don't understand.
They just don't. Shout out to that song. So, on this episode, we're going to talk all about the AI having a crisis, and because of that crisis, someone dies. In my opinion, it is her fault. And then how their little exit strategy, which, Michael, I'm proud of you, but did you really need to do that? I don't think you did. So, let's talk about it. So, as they are trying to find a way to escape this subspace from the Dark Matter Anomaly, the subspace rift, they realize that they have like about 3 hours of time to figure out how to get out before whatever killed the dot is going to kill them. And Gray is somehow able to help the AI realize that, oh, you do have sensors out there. Like, really? 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 And they realize that one of the holes is being eaten up. And so one of the doctors is closer. Oh, you get to see Medbay again. Remember?
Yes.
We saw we see Medbay. And we see that one of the doctors is closer to the level that's being eaten. And you see there's an ensign down there trying to hurry up and fix everything before the hole blows. And the AI, I'm pretty sure the AI could have put the shield after him. And like literally the ensign fixes whatever he's about to fix to make sure that when the hole goes, the ship doesn't go with it, like, like it doesn't blow up. And he gets sucked out into space. And then the AI has a crisis of faith. And it's just like, you're a computer. Stop it. Bad computer. That was a slap on the hand. Bad computer. You don't need to have a crisis of faith. We shouldn't, like, the crew does not need to talk you through calming down and how to do your freaking job. No. But anyway, neither here nor there. So then they realize with everything that like Gray is able to, like, again, navigate the computer's messed up head, and they figure out a way to escape. The only issue is it will put everyone at risk of dying if they try to escape that way, because the shields could burn, the hull could burn, like there's so much that can go wrong. And so here's the nod to Strange New Worlds. We see that, I can't remember who it was. Was it Saru, who was like, people can survive in the pattern buffer?
I think it was Michael.
Michael?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there was talk about how there was there was a person who lived in the pattern buffer somehow, however she phrased it, for an extended period of time. And that is a callback to season 1 of Strange New Worlds, with the doctor's daughter surviving in the pattern buffer for however long she survived, because we still didn't get an answer of how long she was in there.
It's also a callback to Star Trek Next Generation. Montgomery Scott from the original series was in a pattern buffer like for 75 years until Next Generation. I don't know how that happens, but when you transfer ships too. Interesting how that happens. Yeah.
And so everyone goes to the pattern buffer, and Michael says, I'm going to stay with the ship, which in my opinion is stupid, because you don't really need to stay. Like, you didn't need to do that. Like, you could have gone into the pattern buffer as well, and the ship would have did exactly what the ship did: get out of the subspace. Thoughts?
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts about this. So, keeping in mind that the space that they're in is like shrinking. Mm-hmm. So it was shrinking in front of them. They could see that with the dot. But it looks like they didn't look behind them, because the hull was breached from behind. And that, so it was shrinking on all the way around them. Mm-hmm. In a circumference, but shrinking possibly, we don't know, at a faster rate behind them, and so it snuck up on Zora. I'm saying this because why are we relying on technology to get them out of this when the technology isn't really working well right now? So to me, to rely on Zora to get everyone out of the pattern buffer is suspect. Because Zora couldn't save one crew member from dying from the hull, and from the breach from the survive one crew member, let alone everyone else on the ship, including Michael in the pattern buffer. So that's one of my concerns with this. Second of all, Gray is part synthetic, right? So Gray is in a synthetic body of sorts and will age over time, but the symbiote of Gray is inside of that body. So in essence, Gray could persist through this whole thing. You don't have to, or it could be Gray and Michael, could be Gray could be Gray on its own, but Gray is in a synthetic body. So so Gray could take this risk on and be okay. So I feel like Gray did not have to beam out and into the pattern buffer like all the other like groups, you know, they beamed into as smaller families. But Michael once again did not have to take this all on by herself. I feel like that happens time and time again. I understand that the captain should go down with the ship. However, she's not using all of her resources at her disposal, like the president stated at the very beginning of the season.
I feel like sometimes they're writing Michael like she has a death wish. Because, like, why do you keep doing things that could cause your death? Like, what are you doing? Do you need to go to therapy? Do you need therapy?
So in the meantime, Michael was soothing the woes of Zora during this during their transport out of this rift into normal space. And they had to go through like this hot bumpy zone to get out, and so it got really hot and unsafe for Michael, and you could see Michael emoting and being really strong in this, and her continuing to counsel and soothe Zora. And the whole time I was thinking, we're relying on a robot AI to guide us out, and we know that this robot has issues, and then restore the life of everyone on the ship. I hope this goes well.
Like, think of it this way. You're not supposed to talk a computer through its job. It's supposed to talk you through your job. Every single time an AI gets too smart or has too many feelings, it never goes well for the people.
Yes.
And getting to the end when they actually escape the subspace rift and their ship is getting repairs and everyone comes out and everyone's saved. And we see that Zora's now family tree has the Discovery crew all over it. That's not a good thing.
Yes.
That's not sweet. Families are messy. Families don't always get along. Families don't always like each other. And it's not something that can be understood by something that is not real. Every family is different. What do you do when you offend someone? You can offend someone in your family and then they're like, fine, I'm not talking to you for a week. That's you're fine with that. You're fine if you don't talk to your cousin for a week because you guys get into an argument. Can a computer understand that? Can a computer understand? Can a computer get mad at you and it says, you know what? I'm going to, like I said earlier, put you in timeout and then sucks the oxygen out because in their mind, that's an equal punishment or whatever. You don't know what she can do if she gets really mad at you. You needed her help in the heat of battle and she's freaking out because she doesn't want to lose anyone, so she can't do her job. That's not a good thing. Zora needs to go bye-bye. Like ASAP. Because she's not safe for the crew. For any crew.
Yes, I hope that as they're conducting repairs on the ship, they're also conducting a diagnostics of Zora. Because what you don't want to happen is that the computer needs to take action based on a captain or an ambassador or someone in leadership role. And the computer second guess that and think about saving the family, saving the crew. But you need to implement this self-destruct to save the rest of the galaxy or something like that. So I'm hoping the computer doesn't like second guess or outthink orders, because the computers dare to do just that. Follow orders, follow commands.
I definitely don't see Zora being a good addition to the show. I don't. The more I'm learning about Zora, the less I like. The more I don't have I don't have words for how much I don't trust Zora. Regardless of the fact that they may she may do nothing wrong in the future, still, my life is in your hands and you have Butterfingers? 2 points if anyone in the comments can know where that line is from. 2 points. Do you know where that line is from?
Oops, there's Butterfingers.
No.
Oh.
Our lives are in your hands and you have Butterfingers? I'm repeating it again. If someone can tell me where that's from, I will tell you when we're done recording because I don't want someone to cheat. But 2 points if someone can tell me where that line is from because it's one of my favorites. So yeah, this episode to me was a filler. It was something that could have been just a 10-minute portion or 7 minutes at the end of one episode, 7 minutes at the beginning of the next one. Like there did not need to be a full episode of this. I think this episode did more harm than good. For the overall, it's giving, to speak as a Gen Z, what is it, Gen X? What are they? I don't know what they are. Speaking as one of those generation of people, it's giving they don't have a good ending.
Okay, so I have concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I'll dive right on in.
Go ahead. Tell me all your concerns. I'm loving that she has concerns because I know it's not just me.
Okay, so the last episode, I talked about being worried about the Mycelium Network in May. Like that, out of everything that's going on, like the fact that Hugh was stuck in Mycelium Network and was able to be resurrected from that was like really I have concerns about that. I don't like that. I think there was other ways of approaching Hugh, and I really like that character. I just don't like the way they kind of added this fantasy element to help restore his character. What I'm concerned about is that Book's father is in the Mycelium Network. I hope, and they better not, restore this whole planet, Book's whole family, his Book's planet, because it's in the Mycelium Network, and bring it out somewhere. They just better not.
If they do that, it's not following the same rules as Hugh.
Right.
Like they would be because like Paul was literally holding Hugh while he was in a Mycelium Network trance.
Yes. Like
that's how Paul was able to bring him back, because everything aligned in that moment. Like his eyes were glazed over. He was like, he could not see outside the Mycelium Network. He was holding Hugh, crying, and the DNA, whatever, rolled off of him into Hugh and then back onto him with the way that he was holding him. Everything was aligned for Hugh to come back. It's not aligned for Book.
I agree. I don't understand why Book's dad is in the Mycelium Network. And I remember May, and then May was a different But species.
May wasn't a real person.
Right. And took on the form of May to help Tilly understand how to communicate with the species. I don't know if that something similar is happening with Book's dad. I was burned before, and I'm hoping this is not occurring again. Something's sketchy and wrong here. I know I've said sketchy a few times, but this is not rubbing me the right way. And I'm curious of how they're going to make this connection. Because it wasn't just a dream. It was definitely the Mycelium Network for Book.
So they can't bring back his world like that. They can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't, because it would have been different if he was holding his father, when he got electrocuted and went into it, like his father was physically there dying and he was holding on to him. Because again, They set it up that these were the rules.
Right.
You can't break the rules.
Right.
And like,
and also in that scene, Paul cried.
yeah.
And one of the tears from Paul entered into Hugh.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be how this was shared.
Yeah.
Book was in a completely different place.
Yeah.
He wasn't even on the planet.
Yes. Like, we don't even know if his father's still alive when the planet died, because we never met him in person. Right. So, like, yeah, there are rules and they can't break them.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts before we end this episode?
So we learn about Book's like, I don't know, birth name. So we learned a lot more about Book than I think we've learned before during this. So Tarek is his name, and he said that we would learn more about him as the story unfolded. I was just not thinking it was going to occur this way. We saw a new scene, or something fairly new for me. I know in the last episode we saw Book and that evil scientist in the lounge. I just did not realize it was a bar until the scene. I had never seen a bar on the ship and a lounge and a fireplace until this episode. So I'm just trying to make this rational, like, so that it was part of the re-engineering of the ship, and that they built out a space for the crew to have a little fun instead of just a dining hall and the cafeteria. So I'm justifying that in my head. I missed though Tilly, and I felt a miss of I think Tilly would have helped add a little soft and humor to this. I miss Jet, so I hope they bring those characters back, and I've said this time and time again, in a more consistent way. The title of the story of this episode was a little puzzling to me at first.
It should have been smart people making dumb decisions.
Because stormy weather, to me, thinks of like gloom and misery everywhere. So I dived in deeper to find out more about this, and went down a deep, dark rabbit hole, everyone. So I will help the world to understand more about how this title was chosen. So Stormy Weather was an album, song, and movie way back in like the 50s and 60s. So that song was originally sung by Lena Horne. A lot of other people have like re-recorded over that since then. But Lena Horne is the grandmother of a Star Trek Discovery producer, and it was easy for them to get the rights to it. And also it's paying homage to her grandmother. So I thought that was sweet. Otherwise, not quite sure that would be the song that I would want played in potentially my final moments.
Yeah, this episode was just a filler. I don't disagree with anything you said. For me, the stormy weather, I think, was, how you said, gloom and misery. This episode was gloom and misery to get through. Okay. I really want a good ending. I really, 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 really need a good ending. Because they're setting it up. They're doing all this extra stuff. Somehow Zora probably is connected unintentionally because she's having a tantrum. Who knows? So anything else you'd like to share before we end?
I think Book's gonna go rogue. I think he's gonna, at some point in time,
probably
go off and do his own thing, because it seems to be setting it up that like he feels he wants more power, do more research, and he wants to find out about what happened to the planet, and then this other species outside of the galaxy, outside of where they have, outside of I don't know, where everyone else has traveled, to find out who did this and resolve it for his people.
For himself. His people are dead. I'm sorry, that was very dark. That came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. It was supposed to stay in my head. I apologize, people. So as y'all know, I'm dead inside. So that's everything I have.
And that's everything I have.
Okay. So as always, I am Andrea.
And I'm Anika.
And live long
and prosper.